introduce our presenter, Blair Nicol. He's currently the principal and advisor for FranNet of San Diego and Orange County. So Blair has a very impressive past here. He launched his business career back in 1987 as an area franchisee for mailboxes, etc. You guys all remember that. He and his family built the San Diego area over 60 franchises for mailboxes, etc. And then in 1996, it was sold back to Mailboxes, etc., the global headquarters, after becoming one of the largest and most successful area franchises in NBE's history. He's now the associate and the owner for the San Diego and Orange County offices of FranNet, which is an organization dedicated to helping individuals access the right franchise opportunities. And as somebody who sat through the last session of this, I can tell you that it will be quite interesting for you. So with that, please take it away. And we have exactly an hour.
Okay, great.
Can I get one of your little brochure things?
Oh, sure, absolutely.
I appreciate it.
Not get a whole package?
No, I've got everything else. I think I just gave my.
You just need this one?
Yeah, but thank you.
You need one too?
Thank you.
All right, we're off and running. We got an hour. Okay. As I told the other class, this workshop normally takes about an hour and a half, hour and 45 minutes. Okay? So I'm going to be a little quick. Just know that if there's something that's not covered, we'll get it covered at the, I think we have an open session after this session. So if you got questions, we'll just ask away. Is that correct?
Yeah, there's a kind of a networking session with cookies and stuff in the main hall, the cultural hall. And feel free, if you have any questions that you have for Blair or any of the other presenters, please approach them. And you're going to be able to make that, right?
Yeah, for a little bit.
Okay.
I still gotta
As
get
long
back
as the
down.
cookies last.
I gotta get back down to San Diego, so
Okay.
I got my little ones waiting. All right. John did a pretty good job going over most of my background. What you should know, though, is a lot of people ask, Blair, have you been a franchisee? You know, what's been your roles in franchising? Yes, I have been franchisee. I'm a franchisee right now. I'm a multi-territory franchisee. I am also a franchisor. Okay. 3 of my partners and I bought out the parent company of FranNet 5 years ago, and we franchised FranNet. All right. We have an office in just about every major city in North America. So we're pretty much sold out here in North America. But we franchised our company as well. So I've worn every single different hat you can possibly wear in franchising. Area franchisee, master franchisee, multi-unit franchisee, franchisor, you name it. So I've yet to been stumped on a franchising question. I've owned the Southern California office to FranNet now for about 13 years. I've helped hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of people here in Southern California get into franchising. In fact, no other companies help more people purchase a franchise than ours here in Southern California. It is very neat to watch people go from the very seats you guys are sitting in, either in current employment or possibly in career transition, kind of looking for what's my next step. But it's always been my dream, always been my goal to own my own business or franchise, and then watch our clients actually achieve that dream. It's really, really neat. There's a lot of work that happens. There's a lot of work that happens once you're in business, but it's what's the ultimate is when they're in their business 5, 7 years later, and suddenly they got everything they've always wanted. There's a lot of blood, sweat, and tears to get there, but it's really neat to watch them really achieve the dream that they always wanted. So that's what I do. The easiest way to describe FranNet is think of us as the eHarmony of franchising. It's the easiest way to describe it. Basically, the general public comes to us saying, hey Blair, I think I want to own a franchise, but I've never done this before. I don't know what companies to look at. I don't know which ones are good, bad, or indifferent. I don't know how to research them. I don't know what resources are available to me. All I know is that I think I might want to do this. And we help them with all that. We help match them up with the right franchises. We help them with their research. We help them with their financing, getting all the resources to them. And we are paid, time and time again, people ask us, Blair, how are you paid? We are paid by the franchisors. We are not paid by you. Okay, so we are a free service to the general public. You need to know your other free resources, though. All right? In addition to us, underneath the Small Business Administration, there's what's called the SBDC, which stands for Small Business Development Corporation. Okay, and by the way, before I forget, you will get a copy of this presentation if you want. Okay, I can email it to you. Underneath this, what the Small Business Development Corporation does is there's an office in Santa Ana. The other nearest office would be Long Beach, maybe Oceanside. But those offices is the government's arm to help you get into business. Whether it's an independent business you want to open, whether it's a franchise that you want to open, whether it's a consulting practice that you want to open, Or maybe you already own your business and you're just looking for help in how to get even bigger and better. That's their job, is to help you with that. They will help you write your business plans, they will help you write your marketing plans, they will help you with financing. Your tax dollars pay for this, so take advantage of it. No matter how big or how small the business is you're going to do, that's what they're there to help you do. Okay, so take advantage of it. Also underneath the Small Business Administration, there is a group called SCORE. Okay, a lot of people have heard of SCORE. SCORE stands for Service Corps of Retired Executives. These are very successful retired business owners, retired accountants, retired attorneys, retired franchise owners who, again, were very successful in their previous careers, retired, and now want to give back. So if you say, hey, you know, is there somebody I can meet with who is a very successful attorney, who I can go get free legal advice from? Yeah, go to SCORE. Okay? The SCORE chapter here in Orange County is the largest, most successful chapter in the country. So take advantage of it. All right? Again, it's free. Both of these guys, or both of these entities will do workshops. A lot of times they charge for their workshops, usually like $30, $35. But if you want to meet with a counselor one-on-one, you can, and it's free. All right? There you go. You're welcome. All right.
Well, that SCORE, that's truly free. I mean, nothing's free, right? I mean, is there a catch to that? I mean, these people just retired and they want to help
Yeah,
people?
it's basically they are retired, were very successful in their careers, bored, and they want to get back. So it's their way of kind of staying involved. Okay? And like I said, it's the #1 chapter in the country. And you think about it, where do a lot of successful people end up retiring? Right here in Orange County. So take advantage of their depth of knowledge. Right? What we're going to talk about is business ownership. Why do people get into business ownership? Why do people not get into business ownership? Buying a business versus starting a franchise. So what are the pros and cons of buying an existing business? What are the pros and cons of buying an independent business or starting a business from scratch? What are the pros and cons of buying a franchise? Then we're going to get into what are the myths associated with franchising, what are the risks and rewards, and more importantly, how do you do the research? Okay? Before I forget, next week, if you want to go, next week in Irvine, it's up there on the board, on the 9th between 6 and 8:30. A lot of people ask, Blair, is there a way of meeting some of these large, better franchisors in person? Yeah, go to that event, okay? We're hosting it, it's free to you. So if you just go to that website and sign up, you will hear a condensed version of this workshop I'm doing right now. But then you'll have a chance to meet a number of the franchisors. I think there's going to be like 9, 10, 12 of them there. As well as the financing sources that are getting these deals done. So a lot of people ask, hey, can I talk to some of these guys, see them in person, see what they're all about? Yeah, go to that event. And it's free to you. You'll be fed. It's just like this workshop here. Okay? So take advantage of that too. So let me ask a question of you guys. If you knew you could be successful, whether you had a job or whether you owned your own business, take the element of risk out of it, which one would you rather have? Not everybody at once. Which one would you rather have?
I'd rather have my own.
Okay. Anybody disagree?
There's a trade-off in there. Most people I know that have their own business, you get connected to that business such that it becomes more a part of your life, where a job can actually allow you flexibility in your life. It's easier. So it depends on what you want to do and what you want from it. On the other side, most of the wealthy people, really, really wealthy people, often are because they're own business owners, not so.
It's usually business ownership or real estate ownership, one of the two, and a little bit of stocks. Okay, that's usually where they accumulated their wealth.
You said something at the beginning about blood, sweat and tears, and that's been my experience working in business. It takes a tremendous amount of work, blood, sweat and tears and effort, but you can't really argue with the results that come by and by. You would never get by just being a regular employee. If you want the good things in life, you have to be prepared to work, and well, there's a price to pay.
Right, and we're almost there. So one of the things we ask our clients is, if this is something you really want to do, why do you want to do it? Okay? Most people are raised to go to school, get good grades, land a job, stay in the job as long as possible, sock away for retirement, retire, and then eventually die. Right? That's basically life. Is it not? It's the way most people are raised. Okay? I was raised just the opposite. I was raised, no matter what you do, Blair, never have a job. Never work for somebody else. As soon as you start working for somebody else, you're helping them achieve their dreams and goals, not your own. They hired you to get their work done. So which side of the plate would you rather be on? So that's the way I was raised. Okay, so I don't know any better. Time and time again, people say, "Barry, can you give me some job advice? Can you help me look at my resume?" Things I've never written a resume. I wouldn't know what to do. Actually, I did in college because we had to. That's it. All right. But when we ask people why are they doing this, this is it. These are usually the answers to start to come up. But yet most people will end up working for somebody else. Even if it's their goal, even if it's their passion to do this, and now's their window of opportunity to do it, they'll go back to working for somebody else. Why?
Stability.
Okay.
Security.
Security.
Fear.
Fear.
Success.
Success of.
In other words, some people try and they fail. There's a lot of failures.
Yeah.
out there.
And you better get used to it in business ownership. You talk to most successful business owners, they'll tell you, I failed once or twice, but I did it again. Yeah.
Lack of confidence.
Okay, good. You guys named them, okay? Whether it's risk, money, or knowledge, that's what stops people from doing this, but it's this right here that stops almost everybody from doing it. Because it's foreign to them. They've never done this before. And so there's this perceived risk, okay? There's this fear, all right? You guys probably heard some acronyms for fear, like false expectations appearing real, all right? That's because you've never done this before, okay? So you look at risk, and you look at the risk of a job, like we mentioned just a minute ago, when you land a job, or if you have a job, you'll most likely have a paycheck the next week or two. Okay, so there's very little risk in a job in the beginning. But as time goes on, the risk of the job goes up. Does anybody know how long the average job lasts right now?
5 years.
4 years probably.
2 years.
5, 4, I heard 2, we're closer.
Say 1.
Okay, it's pretty close, about 2.3 years. I don't know who said 2, but you're just about right up, okay? If we have a job today, we'll most likely be out of it in about 2.3 years, okay? What happens in business ownership, so let me go back, there's little risk up front, but there's risk ongoing. In business ownership, the risk is in the front, and typically as time goes on, the risk goes down, okay? So the blood, sweat, and tears we were talking about, that's what's right here, all right? So in business ownership, if you go into business ownership, you got to understand that there will be a sacrifice up front to get what you want long term, which is the exact opposite of a job. In a job, there's very little sacrifice up front, but you typically don't get what you want long term. Okay? So what you got to be able to figure out is, okay, if there's risk in the beginning, there almost always is in starting a business, how much risk is it? What does it take to get to this access point where the business starts giving me what I want instead of me having to feed the business? And what does it take to get there? And how do I figure all that out prior to signing any agreement and writing any check? Because that's what you got to find out. That's how you figure out, hey, am I comfortable doing this business or not? And that's what we'll kind of show you a little bit later on, kind of the methodologies that our clients use to be able to figure all that out. Okay? What about the economy, though? You know, I couldn't think of a more interesting time to start a business than now. All right? But depending on everybody's perceptions, let's just say for sake of argument that we're going to, and most people believe, we're going to have a very slow, long road up. Okay, so those tough times are still going to be ahead of us. All right? So what we did is we went back to our clients that probably started their business in probably the worst possible moment in the past 100 years. Right in the middle of 2008. Right when everything looked great, but things were about to go to hell in a handbasket in a couple months. All right? We wanted to figure out which ones of, or which industries that our clients went into that 3 years later, they're saying things were just fine. Okay? And those are them. Those are the industries. So you can see whether it's demographical type of industries or essential services or essential business services, those tended to be the types of industries that our clients purchased on. They said, hey, things went just fine through the rest of 2008, 2009, 2010, and 2011. Okay? What a lot of people don't know is they go, I didn't even know there were franchising in those markets. And there are. Here's a few books we suggest you read. Whether you start a consulting business, whether you buy an independent business, start an independent business, or you buy a franchise, it doesn't matter. There's some essential books that we think you should read. Has anybody read Rich Dad, Poor Dad?
Yeah.
Okay. Anybody read Cash Flow Quadrant, which is the second book of the series? You have? Yeah. A couple of you have. Okay, good. I want to spend just a minute on that book. There's a couple other books, though. There's one called The E-Myth, written by Michael Gerber. It's been around for decades. It is an all-time national bestseller list of business books, and it talks about what are the commonalities behind business owners that get them into trouble. There's certain things that make a business owner fail. What are they? Okay? And how do you know those up front to make sure you won't do them yourself?
What's the name of that book, sorry?
The E-Myth. E-Myth Revisited.
Is that the second part of it, or is that the first book?
The E-Myth Revisited
Yes.
is the revised version. The E-Myth has been around for decades, and so they revised it. Now it's called the E-Myth Revisited.
Oh, so you'll get everything in E-Myth.
Yeah.
You don't have to read E-Myth and E-Myth Revisited.
No, it's the same. Basically, they just updated the story if you read the original E-Myth.
Okay.
Okay. The third book that we suggest you read is specific to franchising, which is not on that list. And it's a book called Street Smart Franchising, written by Joe Matthews. And it's the best book that we have found and that our clients have found on franchising.
Can you say it again?
Street Smart Franchising, written by Joe Matthews. But I want to spend just a minute here on this cash flow quadrant, okay? Basically what the cash flow quadrant says is that every single one of us falls into one of these four basic quadrants. The vast majority of people land here in this quadrant. They're an employee. They work for somebody else. Then there's self-employed people. Self-employed people own their own business, but they own a business contingent upon them. This would be like somebody who says, I'm going to hang my shingle and I'm going to be a consultant, okay? They're a business owner, but that business is them, okay? We have a lot of clients that like to start off in that quadrant because it's the way of getting your feet wet in business ownership with not a tremendous amount of risk. There's usually very little upfront costs, very little ongoing costs. I get the benefits of being in business, but there's not a whole lot of risk. There's a con to it, though. And we'll go over that in just a second. Then there's a true business owner. A business owner, a true, legitimate business owner, owns a business where they have people and systems in place where they can say, you know what? It's 8:45 at night. I remember doing this with my dad. It's 8:45 at night. You know what? I'm going to go grab the next flight to Hawaii. I just feel like getting out of here. And they call in and say, guys, sorry I didn't give you advance warning, but I'm out of here. Take care of things. I'll be back. I'll probably be gone for a couple of weeks. And that business should be able to run without them for an extended period of time. If you can get a business to that point, you have very nice options. It means that you can either have a cash flow producing asset that continues to pay you whether you get out of bed in the morning or not, or you say to yourself, I want to sell it, but I get to sell it on my terms. Okay? The reason why this is important is you've got to think about your exit strategy. Okay? Time and time again, our clients look at a business as an entry strategy. They forget totally about the exit strategy. What do they want out of this animal? In other words, 5 to 7 years from now, if they're to wake up out of bed and say, I did it. I achieved what I wanted. Now I got choices in my own control. What does that look like for you? This is why it's important. I gave an example in the last class. We'll use the same example. Let's say an individual makes $200,000 a year, just for easy math. If you're an employee and you make $200,000 a year, and you either leave or are asked to leave, what do you get?
Severance.
Maybe some type of severance, whether it's outplacement services, maybe a few months' pay, whatever the case may be, right? If you're a self-employed person and you make $200,000 a year and you want to leave, what do you get?
What you've got in the bank.
Okay. It is sellable. Anybody know what the multiple is?
On what, revenues?
Yeah.
You gotta take revenues, subtract your own worth, and that would be the value of the business.
It usually comes to about 1. usually a multiple of about 1. Okay, so that'll be about $200,000. If you're a business owner and you make $200,000 a year and you want to leave, what will you get out of that business?
Probably 6 times.
Okay, but what's the multiple? 10 would be high right now.
Yeah, it's
Right
gonna
now
be
we're seeing
lower
about, yeah, right now we're seeing about 3 to 5. In normal markets, about 4 to 8. So let's just say it's 5, just an average. It's $1 million. Made the same amount of money as everybody else. This guy just has a much bigger asset because he has people and systems in place that can run that business without him. So therefore, it's worth a lot more in the open market when he or she goes to sell it. So if building an asset for your net worth and for retirement is important to you, ask yourself as you're looking at this business, it's okay if it starts here, but can it get there? So if it can, it's going to be worth a lot more. Does that make sense to you guys? Okay. So then you got a few ways of getting into business. You can start a business from scratch, you can buy an existing business, or you can buy a franchise. So we'll look at the pros and cons of each. Starting a business from scratch is the way every single business on this planet started. All right, somebody had an idea and they created a business out of it. You make total control, you have all the decisions, you got the biggest upside, you keep all the money. The disadvantage is you got to create everything. It's usually years before you start making money, there's no one to turn to for help. So therefore, since there's no one to turn to for help, it usually has the highest failure rate. Okay, so you got to figure everything out. I tried it once, and it didn't work. It is hard. It is really hard. It was fun because you get to, you got to be super entrepreneurial and be on your feet and try to figure everything out. But it is hard. Okay. So then there's buying an existing business. Buying an existing business is the safest way to get into business. It's tangible. You can go see it. You can touch it. You can smell it. You can see what type of results it's achieving right now. So you can look at the cash flow, you can see the customers, you can see the location, there might be some seller financing involved, everything's there. The question is why is the business truly for sale? Does the business owner know something that I don't? Or was the business owner just a horrible business owner and I can buy this thing, at a cheap rate and turn around and I'm off and running? Okay? Every now and then you can find a sweetheart deal out there on an existing business, and if you can, go after it. Just be sure you can turn the business around or do better than the previous owner. Okay? The general rule of thumb, though, is that 2/3 of all businesses, when they sell, you and I never found out about it until after the business sold. Okay? Because there is no MLS, multiple listing service, for businesses. There are for homes, there are not for businesses. As I told the last class, somebody will be smart one of these days and actually create it. A little business idea for you. There are business brokerages out there, but there's not an MOS that every single business gets listed onto. Okay? And so that's the disadvantage, is most good businesses sell without you and I ever finding out about it. I know every business that I have bought and sold through the years was never on the open market. It was something that I either found or I knew about, or I approached the owner about and struck a deal. Okay, and that's the way most transactions happen. The other 1/3 tend to be on the open market. So then there's franchising. Okay, what franchising is for the most part, it's what's called business format franchising. There is a company or an individual that has developed a methodology of running this business and has duplicated it time and time again, systematized it so that they can train you how to do it and for you to duplicate it time and time again, in exchange for a franchise fee and a royalty. Okay, so your chances of success are a lot greater, but there's a cost involved. And that cost is, typical initial franchise fee is about $20,000 to $40,000. A typical royalty is about 5 to 7% of gross sales. Not net income, not gross operating profit, gross sales. Okay, so that's the con. It's not only going to pay for it up front, but you're going to pay for this franchise ongoing. Alright? So then, okay, if I'm going to look at franchises and there's fees involved with franchising, what are my different ways of getting involved in a franchise? There's what most people know, which is a single unit, maybe growing into multiple units. And then there's what we call passive non-owner operated. A lot of people don't know that this category exists. It is the It's a category for somebody who says, I either have a job or I want to go get a job, or I don't want to work full time, but I want to get a business up and running. Can I do that? Are there businesses designed to be passively ran? And the answer is yes, there are. There's not a lot of them, but there are some franchises that are designed to be passively ran from day one, where the franchisor wants you to go have a full-time job and get this business running on the side. Okay? Then there's area development. Area development is very rare because it's very expensive. Yes?
What's an example of that?
Like the last class, somebody said, as an example, like your hair cutting franchises, they fall under that category. Have you ever heard of like pods, mobile storage? That falls under that category.
So people that own those typically have a full-time job and they just can't do it on the side? Why would pods want them to do that?
It's just the way they want to grow. Just the way they want to grow.
So do they just have to put up all the money for whatever it takes to set it up, and that's it, and then
Yes.
Pods or whoever will bring in the management? Or
No, you will as the owner. They'll tell you who to hire, how to hire them. It's up to you as to actually who you hire, okay? But you're going to have a manager that's going to run the day-to-day operations, and you just oversee the manager. And typically, if our clients look at this category, the reason why they use it is they'll say, okay, I'm going to have a job, I'm going to get this business up and running. Chances are I'm not going to be in this job 3 years from now. If I can get this business up and running, I'll just transfer right into my business. Or 3 to 5 years from now, the side business, the passive business becomes so big, well, now they got a nice choice. It's usually leave their job, and my business is doing so well, I'm going to go focus on the business. Okay? But they took a lot of the element of risk out of it. The con to it is there's just not a whole lot of franchises are designed that way. Right? Most franchises are designed to be full-time, and some are full-time and then some. Right? All I want you to know is that it's a category. Then there's area development. Rarely do we have a client do area development because it's very expensive. Area development is where you own a geographical area and you own and operate every single location within that geographical area. Companies that grow this way would be like an Arrowhead. Okay? There's one, usually we see corporations do this. A corporation will come in and buy them area development rights and have the sole exclusive right to that franchise for that geographical area. And it costs them millions of dollars to do it. Okay? Then there's master franchising. Master franchising caters to somebody who says, I want to build a little empire here. I also like all the benefits that a franchisor receives. So how do I get those benefits? Well, you become the master franchisee. Okay, it almost looks like multi-level marketing, but it's not. A master franchisee, only about 40% of franchisors offer master franchising as a way of getting involved in their business. Okay? What a master franchisee's jobs or duties are is they're going to control this geographical area. They're in charge of finding the new franchisees, helping those franchisees get open, and supporting those franchisees. And the better those franchisees do, the better this master franchisee is going to do, because this master franchisee, the way they are compensated is they get half of all these fees. Okay, so a lot of people sit back and they look at these royalties that go to the franchisor every month and go, how do I get my hands on those? That's a really cool deal for the franchisor. Become the master franchisee. Okay? The master franchisee, I had my client this morning master franchisee. It's kind of a rare bird because it's somebody who's good at many different aspects in business. They're good at training, they're good at sales, they're good at marketing, they're good at management. They've kind of done all those roles in the past, and they did really well with those roles in the past. And now they want to grow something fairly significant, capitalizing on all those skill sets. So they might look at master franchise. They're just hard to find. They're rare, and not every franchisor offers it. Okay? Any questions there? Right, moving on. What are the trends? Where do we see our clients purchasing right now? Notice there's one category you don't see on here.
Retail?
Food. When people think of franchising, they think of food. Okay? That's typically not where our clients purchase. Our typical client is usually somebody who's coming out of corporate America, usually in a white collar, management level, C-level type of position, and the last thing they see themselves doing is making a taco or making a hamburger and saying, would you like to supersize that? Okay? That's what food is, right? But they do see themselves owning a manufacturing type of business or an IT or maybe senior care, one of the master franchise or education or something like that. They do see themselves doing that. So these is usually where we see our clients purchase. Probably about somewhere between 60 to 70% of the time. Because they're also the industries that are doing extremely well right now too. Okay. Kind of break some of these apart. Light manufacturing. Example that I would give you there. I was at Disneyland last week on Monday and Tuesday with my family. And I was walking to the ticket booth. You guys probably see them drive around town. The Orange County Transit Authority buses. A lot of them are wrapped in this Toy Story 3 advertising right now. You guys seen those things? Okay. That was a client of mine that did all that. Okay, that was his account. His account is Disney. That's what we call very high resolution, large digital reprographics. Okay, when you wrap a bus in advertising, something like that. And the name of his franchise is called Speed Pro Digital Imaging. Okay, it falls under light manufacturing. The reason why people like those, they're usually manufacture some type of good, some type of product. They're usually Monday through Friday hours, business to business, usually white collar. They usually sell, when the extras, usually these businesses will sell for a higher multiple compared to other businesses as well. Why the reason, I don't know, but they do. IT support, this is IT support to small to medium-sized companies. This whole IT infrastructure, whether it's my phone or the laptop or the projector or servers and routers and all that, it's just becoming more and more and more important in business. This is not support to companies that are large enough to have their own internal IT departments. This is support to companies that aren't big enough yet but still have IT needs. Okay? Senior care, obviously, that's getting bigger and bigger. Master franchise when they're available. Recession-resistant businesses, and child education is one that's coming up online pretty strong too. Okay? What are the myths? This one we kind of just covered. What I'd like you guys to do is just start naming franchises to me. Okay?
Subway.
Jack in the Box. Chipotle.
Okay. Owned by.
Plato's Closet.
What was that?
Plato's Closet.
Okay.
Taco Bell.
Okay.
Del Taco.
Okay.
Burger King.
Okay.
I think there's a lot of auto franchises out
I
there.
need actual names.
Pet Boys.
Okay.
Autoloo.
Okay.
Ford. Chevy.
Okay.
UPS.
Yep. Okay, we'll stop there. That's about how many? A couple dozen? Out of how many? Thousands. Thousands and thousands, and we were starting to struggle at about 2025. What was the common denominator behind 70, 75% of them? Food. Either it's 9 o'clock and you haven't eaten dinner yet, so you're pretty darn hungry, or that's what people think about when they think of franchise, they think of food, all right? What I want you to know is that there's just lots and lots of choices out there, all right? So there's thousands of choices out there in just about every single industry that you can think of. A lot of people feel that franchise succeed because of the quality of the product. It's usually just the opposite. We go back to the food example. When you think of McDonald's, they don't really make that great of a product, but they know how to get us in there to buy it, even though it's not that good, okay? So it goes back to the system. What you want to be a believer in the company is not the product. The product's second. You need to be a believer of the system of that company first, because it's the system that you're going to duplicate. It's the system that you're paying for, and it's the system is what they're going to train you on. Okay? So be a believer in the system and then the product second. A lot of people also feel this successful franchise emerge in a new industry that nobody's ever thought of. That's where all the best franchises are. Typically just the opposite. They emerge from industries that have been around for years. They just found a better way of doing it. So if you look at all those companies over on the right-hand margin there, you know, those are all companies that people are pretty familiar with. But if you look at some of them, like Great Clips, which is the largest hair care company in the country, they're closing in on 3,000 locations here in the United States. They got started in 1986. I'm pretty sure hair was being cut prior to 1986. If you look at Dunkin' Donuts, pretty sure donuts were being made prior to Dunkin' Donuts. They just found a better way of doing it. In fact, they found a way where people don't even come in there to Dunkin' Donuts to really buy the donuts. Why do people go to Dunkin' Donuts?
Coffee.
The coffee. Most East Coast people know that, right? And that's what they know. Okay? So they just found a better way of doing it. So again, it's the system that you want to be a believer in. Franchises are expensive. Now this is where we're going to start getting into costs. This is where we're going to start getting into financing, which is usually one of the bigger questions people have. Hey, if I'm going to go into business, how much is this thing going to cost me? All right? What you're looking at here are the percentage of franchises that fall within these total cost ranges. What we mean by total cost or total investment, that includes the franchise fees, the training fees, working capital, everything to physically open the business. Okay? So as you see, over half of them cost less than $100,000. Prior to 2008, I would say our average client was spending somewhere between $200,000 to $220,000 on their franchise. Today is probably between $100,000 and $120,000 on the franchise. There's more people buying franchises now or getting into business than ever before. They're just purchasing differently. Okay, there's a lot of people that have suddenly come out of corporate America and said, finally now's my window of opportunity or my excuse to get into business for myself. What has changed though is the price of the franchise that they're purchasing. So again, the franchisors haven't changed their prices, just people are buying different types of franchises now than ever before. The reason is the financing, okay? Prior to 2008, buying a business or buying a franchise was like buying a house. If you had 25, 30% of the total cost of that business, you could probably get the financing for the remaining 60 to 70%. That is not true today. It has not been true over the past couple years, and we don't see it becoming true for probably the next 3 to 5 years until banking and financing turns around. And we don't see it anywhere in the near future. Okay? So if the money isn't going to come from a bank, most likely, where's the money going to come from to start this business? It's going to come from you, and solely you. So, hence why our clients have said, all right, I'm still going to go into business. If the money's all going to come from me, I'm not comfortable putting $200,000 of my own money into this business. I might be comfortable doing $100,000 of my own money, but not 200 grand. Okay? And that money, that 100 grand, or no matter what the number is, it's going to come from you. It's going to come from all these various sources. All right? Now, there's probably one line item on there that you're probably looking at going, I didn't even know that could be done. Anybody guess it? Anybody see it up there?
It's your IRA category.
Yeah.
It can be an investment.
Yep. You can use money out of your retirement accounts towards a business without any early withdrawal fees and 0 penalties. Okay? There's an IRS law that allows you, or an IRS code that allows you to do that. And probably about, I would say 70-75% of our clients use that methodology to open their business. A lot of people feel that if they withdraw those funds out of there, they will get interest and penalties. And yes, you will if you use it for personal reasons, not if you use it for a business. Okay? So, what our clients do is if they look at like a $150,000 business, they'll say, okay, I got $50,000 worth of personal cash. I'll go get a micro loan for $50,000, which are still readily achievable. And I'll pull $50,000 out of my retirement account. That's my 150 grand right there. Okay, so that's how they're doing it. It's just all coming from their own personal resources. Right? It's not a loan. It's the other nice thing about this category is that a lot of our clients say, you know, what if I want to start taking a salary? Can I do that? Yeah, that's a business expense. You can start paying yourself a salary from day one using this methodology. Okay. The number one company that does this is a company by the name of Benetrends. They're the only ones that have been blessed by the IRS to do it. Right? There's many other companies that do it, but they're the only ones that have been authorized by the IRS to go that route.
So
Right?
what do they do?
What do they do?
Yeah.
Let me describe it to you briefly. I gotta watch my time. Your retirement account right now owns shares in mutual funds, stocks in other companies, probably some cash in mutual funds or bonds, whatever. Okay? What you're going to do, what the IRS allows you to do, is you're going to own this business or franchise. Okay, it doesn't have to be a franchise, it can be any type of business. But the entity that has to own that business has to be a C corporation. Okay, so it has to issue shares. And what your retirement account is going to do is, instead of going out there and buying shares of General Electric, it's going to buy shares of your corporation. Okay, so it's now going to own shares of your corporation. So the money gets to your company, and the shares get to your IRA, which is exactly what your IRA is doing right now. It's just investing in your own company instead of somebody else's company. So the IRS allows you to do that.
So can they do that with an S corp, or has to be a C
No,
corp?
it has to be a C corp.
It can't be an LLC.
It cannot be an LLC. It has to be a C corp. That's the IRS law.
Is that more expensive though to have a C corp?
It is more expensive. There's a little bit more hassle. It is that you have to appraise the company every year. There's certain things the IRS says, hey, if you're going to do this, we'll allow you to do it, but there's certain things you got to do up front and along the way.
Public accountant too to do that?
Oh,
too?
you definitely want a CPA to follow this as well. Because what you don't want to do is have something go wrong or not do it correctly. Then you will get interest and penalties. Okay? So these guys not only set it all up, but they maintain it for you so it's constantly maintained in the right fashion. All right? So all I want you to know is that if you're sitting on a nice retirement account and say, yeah, I don't mind taking money out of that and investing it in myself instead of somebody else's company, you can do that. Okay? So it begs the question though, all right, if I'm spending, if the average person is spending half the amount on a business compared to what they used to, does that mean that they're making less? No, there's zero correlation to the cost of the businesses and how much money they can make up front. Now there is a correlation when you go to resell the business, because the business, like we mentioned earlier, will sell for a multiple of earnings, but not up front. Okay? People fight us on this all day long, but after they start researching businesses and franchise with us, they go, wow, it actually holds true. Okay? It means that you don't have to spend a lot of money to make a lot of money. Now what I'll tell you are kind of the general financial requirements though, is I would have access to $50,000 to $100,000 or more. Okay? I would have personal living expenses taken care of for somewhere between 6 and 12 months. If you got those two financial requirements, you can look at a good number of businesses. Okay? Anything less than that, the number of businesses you can look at starts to shrink quickly. Okay? So a lot of our clients will look at service business because there's far less overhead and far less capital, and they usually yield higher returns. Is industry experience required? Generally what you can see is only about 25% of franchisees will purchase within the same industry that they came from. Okay, so usually it'll be a brand new industry, but the business that they purchase will capitalize on the skill sets that they have, not the industry that they came from. All I want you to know here is that franchising industry, only about 12% of all businesses out there are franchises. But that 12% of businesses gets close to half of all the money that you and I spend. So in other words, when all of us go out there and we spend our money, close to half the time we're spending it in a franchise. We just don't know which businesses are franchises or not. So there's an old cliche in franchise that says, you're in business for yourself but not by yourself. And what our clients call franchise is kind of the corporate halfway house, because in a franchise, it is not true entrepreneurship. The true entrepreneur was the person who created that franchise in the first place. It is not a job. It's kind of right in the middle, because there's some rules, there's some regulations. You can't just do anything that you please. So it's a way of getting into the business for the first time with a helping hand, but you just can't do with it as you please. Okay, so it kind of falls right in the middle. What you're looking at here are from the U.S. Department of Commerce. I don't think they're all that accurate. What you're looking at is percentage of, if I'm going to go start my own independent business, what are my success rates? If I'm going to go start a franchise, what are my success rates? I think these numbers are high. I think the success rates are closer towards about 80%, not 90, 92%. Okay, still 80% is a lot better, just I don't think it's 90%. So what do you do? What I mean by what do you do is, once you've made the decision, all right, I'm going to go out there and look at franchises. What do I do first? What's kind of step number one? What most people do is they usually just go out there and start looking at franchises. Whether it's on the internet or a friend or family or relative told them to go take a look at it, that's where they start. What you want to do first is sit back and figure out, well, what is it that I want in a business in the first place? Okay? When you bought your home, or rented a home, doesn't matter. You probably sat back and said, okay, I need so many bedrooms, I want to be in this zip code, in this school district, I need so many car garage, here's my budget to buy a house or rent a house, I need a living room, I need a family room, I need, you know, whatever it is that you want. And you probably went and bought or rented the house that was the best deal that was close as possible to criteria, right? The same thing here, it's just a totally different set of criteria that you probably never even thought of before. This is criteria of, wow, if I was to own my own company, what would it look like? How many employees would I want? What type of hours would I want to work? How much money would I want to make? Would I want something that's retail-based? Would I want something that's based in an office building? Would I want something that's home-based? Do I want something that has sales in it? Do I want something where the customer comes to me and doesn't have a whole lot of sales? Do I want something that's business to business? Do I want to work with the general public? What are my skill sets that I want to capitalize on? What would I have fun doing? What would drive me out of bed every morning? That's what you got to think of here, okay? And literally put that down on paper. Also think about your long-term strategy. What are your goals? Okay, because this business, what you want to use this business for is a vehicle to get you to where you want to be. Time and time again, we talk to our clients, and I know this holds true for me. When you talk to successful business owners, they will usually tell you, I could care less what the business does. I care where the business got me. I care that I can go do whatever the heck I please. You know, I care that I can go pick up, you know, I can leave tomorrow, go fly fishing in Colorado for 2 weeks and still get paid. And I still have a hell of an asset. I care that I can, you know, look at my watch at 3 o'clock in the afternoon and go, you know what, I want to go to my kid's game. I want to go to my daughter's soccer practice and cheer her on. You can't do that in corporate America. If you do that in corporate America, you're probably going to get fired. All right? But this is your company, so you got to figure out what is it that you want. Okay? I want you to think about, you know, imagine yourself waking out of bed 5 to 7 years from now and saying, if I achieve my definition of success, what would that look like? And literally put that down on paper as well. Because you've got to look at businesses that are proven to get you to that point. Okay? And the business will be the vehicle to get you to that point. And then you need to think about, how am I going to get out of this business? Because you're going to have to get out of it someday. You're going to be forced to. All right? You're going to sell it, you're going to transfer it to the kids, or you're going to die. So you're going to get out of it someday. How do you want to get out of it? And at what point would you consider getting out of it? Okay? Like I said, your skill set. So this is what we call your model. Start by creating your model. So things like, do I want challenge? Do I need time flexibility? What does financial security look like for me? What would be safe? What would be stable for me? How do I want to grow my business? You know, anything you want in your list, put it on your list and create your model first. And then take your model and start matching up with businesses, and the right business or franchise for you is going to be whatever best matches your model in the most affordable fashion. Okay? And that's what we do. Okay? That's what we help you do. So we help you create your model. In fact, what we do with our clients first, we have you fill out an assessment. This is a sample of one. There's a lot of pages. And the assessment is specifically designed for purchasing franchises. And it'll tell us a couple things. It'll tell us, one, should you be considering franchising in the first place? If not, case closed. It's not right for you. Or if it's right for you, and there's no red flags, based on your skill system, what you think you want in a business, what are going to be kind of the general categories that you should be looking at? And then we're going to want to sit down and create this business model together and start taking the assessment in your business model and start figuring out which businesses or franchises are going to be the right matches for you. Once we do that, and we start talking to some specific franchisors, then we're going to want to get a hold of what's called their FDD. It's called a franchise disclosure document. It's the actual disclosure document in the specific company that you're looking at. And it'll tell you what the background of the company is. They'll break down the cost of the franchise. They'll have the actual agreement that the franchisee signed, what your rights are, what their rights are. They'll give you a list of every single one of their franchisees, including all of their franchisees that have sold and all of their franchisees that have failed by state. So you can look at the success rates by state and the success rate of the franchise. Financial statements, how do you sell the business? How do you renew the agreement? The next step after you read that disclosure document is the most important step. And we had a franchisor in here in the last session, and he was sitting there smiling, and he said, Blair, you're 100% correct that this is the most important step. And what I said, he also said was true. He said, the unfortunate part is the step that most people skip. Yet it's the most important step. And that's talking to the franchisees that actually do it. Okay? You're given a list of all of them. And they will sit down and talk to you about whether they do it again, how would they do it differently, how much money you can make, what does it take to get there, what are the skill sets that are really necessary, how supportive is the franchisor. Okay? They'll tell you everything you want to know. And you want to talk to a bunch of them. You want to talk to some that are 5 to 7 years old. Make sure that they're achieving the long-term strategy that you want, so you know that it's achievable. Talk to some that have sold. Find out what type of multiple did they get for their business. How sellable was it? Who did they sell it to? Why did they sell it? Okay? So there's really a 4-step research process. And that 4-step research process is really create your model first, then talk to the franchisors that you think match your model, and then get their disclosure documents, read through those disclosure documents, and then talk to their franchisees. So far, you haven't spent any money yet. Okay, so remember in the beginning of the presentation I said, hey guys, there's a way to research these businesses to figure out what is that element of risk in the beginning, and what does it take to get there, without spending any money and not obligating yourself to anything. That's it. That's the process. So you can find out without spending any money, hey, is this right for me? Is this the right business for me? And am I comfortable doing it? And will it get me everything that I want? You haven't invested any money yet. You invested some time, but you haven't invested any money yet. Step number 3, now you're going to start investing some money. And not a lot of money. We're talking about some travel costs here. So we tell our advice to our clients is don't do step number 3 unless you're about 90–95% sure this is the business you want to do. Okay? So now you're going to go visit the franchisor's corporate headquarters. And if that goes well, do step number 4, which is consult with your professional advisors. That would be a franchise attorney. That would be a CPA. Okay? To review the agreements, review your numbers, get their blessing, make sure it's a good agreement. And trust me, the closer you get to making this decision, the more fear you will feel. Okay? It is a spooky decision because you've never done this before, most likely. I know every time I buy and sell a company, I still feel fear. All right? I'm in the middle of a transaction right now. And there was a couple nights, I think, what was it, last week, where I was up at night, still doing numbers in my head. And I'd done the numbers every which way you can, but I was still up at night thinking about it, a little bit worried about it. Trust me, you will feel fear, okay? A good CPA will save you a lot of money, okay? What I told the last session, and it's true, anybody own their own business in here? You do? There's a tremendous amount of tax advantages, aren't there? Okay, I met with my CPA yesterday. He said, hey, are you thinking about buying a car next year? I said, yes. He said, go buy that car this year. In fact, not only buy that car this year, make sure it's 6,000 pounds so that we can do a tremendous amount of depreciation on it. Okay, the Bush tax cuts are going to end probably after this year. He said, go take advantage of them. Okay, that's something that I can take advantage of as a business owner. An employee cannot. I was out car shopping today for 6,000 pound vehicles. Okay? It's all, tax laws are written for the favor of business owners, not for employees. You got to remember that. That's what this whole debate that's going on right now. Okay? So that a good CPA will save you a tremendous amount of money. And make sure if you use an attorney, and we can give you these resources too, make sure it's a franchise attorney, because the franchise laws and the franchise disclosure documents are very specific. The whole process from beginning to end. Sort of like
we don't have alarms here. That's
not. There isn't a fire or anything like that. Okay. Create your model, and then by the time you're able to finish your research, should be about 2 to 3 months. Okay. What you do have to take into consideration, though, is that There may be, and this is what you got to consult with your CPA about, there may be a tax incentive for you to get it done this year if you want to get it done this year. Okay? Because if you had income earlier this year, if you start a business or you buy a business, you can create a loss very quickly to offset your other income and not pay taxes on your other income. All right? So make sure you fit, make sure it's affordable, make sure you're comfortable with the risk, make sure you'll have fun, make sure you can grow it, make sure you have the support of your family, and never ever settle. Make sure nobody's holding a gun to your head for you to do this. All right? Make sure you get what it is that you want, and if you get what you want and you're comfortable doing it, go after it. Go after it. You don't have to, but go after it. Okay? Questions? You got about 4 minutes.
I'm just curious about you made the point of we will feel fear if we get to that point of decision. I mean, from your experience, what does that fear come from? Just fear of failure or fear
Yeah, it's just fear of the unknown. Okay, no matter how much research you do, there will always be this element of risk at the end. Okay? Because you won't get 100% of your questions answered. And no matter how much research you do, there's not a guarantee everything's going to end up panning out that way. So there's always this, am I doing the right thing? Compared to taking a job, there's very little fear. You'll probably have a paycheck the next week or two.
Yeah, right.
Okay?
How do you, I'm sorry.
That's right. We'll go to you. We'll go to you.
I'm just curious, FranNet, it's like a franchise or whatever, but there's a role that you play here. How do you guys get compensated in the system? Are you getting paid by the franchisor?
Yes.
Is there, okay. That's,
Yes.
yeah.
There's not a fee from you. You will never write us, you're more than welcome to write us a check, but you don't have to. The franchisors are the ones that pay us our fee. Because basically what happens is when we assess our clients and we model our clients and we match our clients up with the right franchisors, and our clients look at multiple franchisors at the same time, so they're comparing and contrasting. Instead of the franchisor having to weed through hundreds or thousands of leads to try to find the right match, they know if one of our clients is looking at their company, it's a match.
And
So it saves them a lot of time.
does that limit the scope of potential franchises because there's a contractual relationship
Yes.
between you and several franchises?
Yes.
And how many do you represent?
Probably about, any given point in time, about 120 or so. So it's not all of them. There's a lot of franchises that we research and we say, no way.
Not worth it,
We don't
yeah.
want our clients looking at this. It's not a good company. There's some franchises we look at and we go, good company, probably BC locations left, but still a good company.
Right.
But we can't do each other a lot of good. Yes?
You've got the initial lump sum investment, you've got the royalties that you're going to pay on your sales.
Sales, yeah.
If you need to get some financing, what are typically the type of rates that you can get? Are you talking about going to your regular banks, or do you have any specialist financing that are
If you get financing, it is extremely rare right now, okay? It'll most likely just be a micro loan. It'll probably be about $30,000 to $50,000 a year. The days of a general small business loan are so rare right now. No matter how much money you have and what your credit score is, doesn't matter. Just think that it just doesn't exist, okay? So it's really kind of a moot question.
Can you loan against equipment,
Oh yeah.
that kind of
You
jazz?
can do equipment loans. I mean, that's going to be more of your micro loan, 30, 50 grand. So those are achievable. But the days of, hey, I'm going to go buy a $200,000 business, I'm going to go get a loan for $180,000 of it, doesn't exist right now.
Now, in the failure, the 80% failure is
80% success.
success. I mean,
Okay.
20% sorry. You have, does typically your full investment is gone? Or what
If
do
you fail?
Yeah, or can you liquidate a certain percentage?
You can
or-
liquidate, you can sell at any time. The worst case scenario is you lose the entire investment. Okay, that's the worst case scenario. But at any time, you're able to sell the business. Well, I mean, the goal is to sell the business for profit, a lot more than what you had into it. But yeah, if things went sideways on you, yeah, you could lose some of the investment.
Because most of that's what lease whatever property. If you need
Yeah.
property, you need franchise fees gone.
Tenant improvements, things like that.
All that stuff is gone. So
Yeah.
a lot of that will be you're not having sales. If you can't sell it, then
Right,
it's out the door.
right.
How long does it take for most of your clients to break even?
Depends on the business. If it's more of a retail storefront type of business, we usually tell our clients plan on at least 9 to 12 months plus. If it's more of a service-oriented business that's home-based or office-based, not a tremendous amount of overhead. We have clients that break even in the first month or two. Profitable in the first month or two. I still tell people, plan on about 6 months, but be pleasantly surprised if it's quicker. Okay.
What are the best yielding franchises, do you think, just generally?
The service-based ones. Service-based ones.
Some examples?
One of my most successful clients here in Orange County, out of all things, started a residential cleaning company by the name of Molly May.
Yes.
He'll net to himself this year cleaning houses about $1.3 million. Cleaning houses.
Is this profit, you're saying?
Profit. So he can do with whatever he pleases.
It's not sales, that is profit.
That is profit. Yes.
Just to be sure it's definitely profit.
That is profit. Yes. Yep.
When you say break even,
He's not the most successful either. It's just to give you an example.
Yeah.
And the business cost him about 60 grand when he originally got involved in it. About 8 years ago.
when you say break even, you mean having an operating profit?
Yes, the business, what I mean by break even is not you got your investment back, is that the business is sustaining itself and now there's a cash flow positive every month that you can do with as you please.
So with that 200 or whatever thousand that you quote for us, how much we need to start with that include the cash flow or the cash flow cushion that we need to?
Yes, that include the working capital as well. It does not include personal living expenses. That's why I said have personal living expenses set aside too. We got time for one last one.
For the, say for example, the hair care industry, does that take a relatively enormous amount of initial investment?
Not an initial investment, but time to break even, because that'll fall, the passive category that we spoke about is usually a longer break even, because you're not in there running the day-to-day operation, you have a manager in there, so now you got the manager's salary that you have to pay for.
Okay.
So usually we won't see those businesses break even until somewhere between 12 and 24 months. So that's one of the major reasons why the franchisor says, hey, it's going to be a while until you start really seeing money from this business. We want you to have a full-time job. So you're taking care of things.
Gotcha.
Okay? All right. What we need both evaluation forms, right, John?
Yes.
Okay.
So, thank you so much, Blair, for that presentation. Yeah, either give them to me or leave them face down on the table. Either way is fine. We would very much like to thank Blair for his presentation and his time tonight, and we have a small token of our appreciation for you, Blair.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Thank you.